Hi, my name is Annalie Kaplan, and I'm going to be going over a dew formation experiment that I would do with 4th graders in my classroom. I don't have any students here, so I'm just going to go through the steps. The first thing that I'd like to go over is that I would first have a paper set up. This paper would be the format that they would use throughout the experiment. So the first part of the paper are the observations. Observations are what did we notice. The second part of the paper is what do you think will happen. Those are the predictions. And the last part is the conclusions. What did we learn? So the actual reason that we are doing this experiment is to learn why the dew happens on specific objects. So the object we're going to be using today is a clear glass bottle. The first part of the experiment is to see how students would work with noticing condensation before putting a bottle in ice water. I already have the pot of the ice water ready to go, so we'll get to that step in a minute. So the first step of the observations, what they're supposed to do first is they would have to inhale and then exhale into the bottle, but before they do, they're going to put their hands on it and they're going to rub it. They're going to try and get it warm for about 2 minutes. They're just going to rub it back and forth in their hands, creating that friction. I'm obviously not going to do it for a full 2 minutes, but then what they would do is they would inhale, and then they would exhale, and when they exhale, they're going to exhale their breath into the bottle, and they're going to notice what happens in the bottle, and they're going to write that in their observation column on their paper. So they would inhale, and then they would notice, if you were looking at the bottle, you would notice that there is a little bit of fog or smoke or condensation, so to say, on the inside, but it is only on the neck, and it's only on the inside. There's nothing on the outside. So they would record that under their chart where it says before being in ice water, they would put condensation slightly on the neck of the bottle. Now, before they do the part with the ice water, they have to come up with a prediction. A prediction is what they think will happen now that they know a bottle that is warm creates a small amount of condensation on the inside. Now we want to predict, what do you think is going to happen if I put it in this whole bucket of ice cold water? So on their chart, they would put that in the prediction, what do you think will happen next? And they would record that in their chart. So then when they actually do the test, they're trying to see if their prediction was correct or if it was not correct. So I'm going to predict that there would be condensation on the outside and inside. And I'm going to put that it would be more moist because I'm expecting that because it's ice water that there's going to be more condensation. So again, what they're going to do is they're going to stick the bottle into the ice water for a couple minutes, and they're going to try to put it up to the neck and not spill it. And I don't have a large pot, so I'm going to kind of spin it around for a minute. And again, they're supposed to do this for 2 minutes to make sure the bottle really gets cold, because if it doesn't really get cold, you're going to get the same type of thing that you noticed before you put it in the ice water. Once they are done having it in the ice water, then what they're going to do is they're going to take a paper towel and they're going to actually wipe off the bottle just so that there's not water dripping all over the table if you were doing this in a classroom. So they're going to take it out. I'm going to dump a little bit of the water that was in there. And they're going to wipe the bottle off. Then they're going to again breathe in and out into the bottle. And you could notice that there is a lot more condensation. It doesn't just go on the neck, it goes all the way down. And also, if you notice where my finger is, it's now on the outside, it's not just on the inside. So I would record in my observations after being put in the water, I would record there's more condensation on the outside and on the inside. and that the condensation on the inside goes lower than it did before. Or lower into the bottle, I should say. Now, this is the actual experiment. And there is an expansion, but I'm not going to do that. I would rather go over the explanation. So, what you want the students to do is they're trying to go through the process of discovering that as something becomes colder, there's more condensation, such as them walking through cold grass in the morning and their shoes being wet on the outside, or noticing dew on leaves in the morning when it's colder. So we're trying to get them to understand that as objects cool off, there's more condensation that appears. So their job is to then come up with their conclusion. What did we learn? So obviously a fourth grader is going to write something very different than a teacher as to what they learned. And then after they were to record their learning, then what we would do is we would come together as a whole class. We would discuss our observations, our predictions, and our conclusions. And then that way we can come up with a classroom overall conclusion as to what we learned. So then that way we're getting everybody's opinion and we're getting everybody's information and we're making one class group of data. So that's what I would do with this experiment. And I would think that if we were to do it, we might want to try it more than once. And if you were doing it with groups, you would have students each try and do it, not just one student in the group. So everybody would have their own paper. So in that way they can even compare inside of their group what information they received, and then they would share at the end so we can see who has the right information. But that's the overall experiment for the dew formation. Thank you.